You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Knightline is brought to you by the Dever team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 269 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Roger Phipps, and on this week's show, the green wave turned into a spirit splash puddle for homecoming. Next week, our Knights travel to the Corral at Gerald R. Ford Stadium in Dallas. Your questions in Ask Knightline. We preview hoops with Knightline's very own 7-footer, Ben Stout, as we go inside the paint, the Tijuana Flats hot take of the week, and news and notes.
Alrighty. Well, we definitely we have a win to talk about, which is nice. That's always a good thing. A win is better than a loss. Absolutely, every time. Yeah. So we will get on to that. 14-10 win UCF over Tulane on Saturday. It is Monday now, where we've decided to just start doing this show on Mondays instead of Sundays, having to do two things. I like it, though, because it gives me a little bit of a time to soak in what happened over the weekend, gives me a little bit time between the radio show and this to kind of forget what I said on the radio show and, have maybe a little bit of a different take. So I'm digging it. I don't mind doing it on Monday.
I'm just liking the extra sleep. So
exactly, yeah, and with your travel and all that stuff. So let me get the Tijuana Flats hot take of, or not Tijuana Flats hot take of the week, but the Ask Knightline, which I'm giving away a Tijuana Flats cash. I'm going to give away a couple of those to a couple of people that ask questions. So let's get on with that. Ask Knightline. Ask a Knightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barr Law today. All right, time to answer your questions that you give to us with the hashtag AskNightline on Twitter. Brian W. Peterson starts us out this week. Brian Peterson at Brian W. Peterson. How critical is it to get DG and J Flash back for SMU and improving USF? Oof, improving. I don't want to say. I guess they're improving. I don't want to lose to the Cows. I mean, I don't know about DG. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. I don't think that's going to happen this week. I think J Flash may be obviously a little bit better of a chance. I'm not sure. I don't even know how many weeks it's been now that Dylan has been down. So has it been 6 weeks yet, Roger? Or have we counted? How many weeks?
We haven't counted. I mean, he went down in Louisville, right?
Yeah.
And we're 6
September,
and 3, so
the beginning of September.
Yeah, that was our second game, so it's been 7 weeks.
Okay, so I mean,
plus
it is
a bye week.
Yes, they say 6 to 8 weeks for a broken bone, and then on the throwing shoulder and all that stuff. I mean, it obviously could take a little bit more time. I don't know personally if we're going to see DG again. I'm going to say we're not. Just in my personal take, I know nothing about this either way. I do not have any any inside information as far as that goes. I know he's been practicing and throwing, but that's all that I know. Just my personal opinion, we're not going to see him again. This year, yes. Maybe never. You never know. But he gets his year back if he doesn't play again this season. If he plays again this season, he does not get the year back. He could take the entire year, though, and have an extra year of eligibility if he does not play one snap more. If he goes in there and literally plays one snap, it's over for this year for him. So I would rather not see him again this year, to be honest with you, and let him heal up and have him for next year and maybe even another year after that, personally. So I would just rather see it happen like that. Roger?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think we see DG this year for that reason, unless he just feels like he's going to try for the NFL next year, come heck or high water. Which that's a bit of a gamble. So, if I were him, I'd try to hedge my bets and probably stick it out. I think J Flash, we will see, if not this week, then next week. As far as whether we need them to win the SMU game, first of all, the Cows game, I think we can win with the defense. The defense is playing with its hair on fire, so I think one way or the other, we can win that game. I think SMU is going to be a tough game, and we'll talk about it a little bit later when we do our predictions. But they've kind of been on a little bit of a downslide lately, so hopefully we're not the team that catches them when they catch their wind. So,
alrighty, cool. Moving on to hashtag 10Hana at Free Sport Travel again. Check him out. I think he's a travel agent. I'm sure he has some deals. So check him out at Free Sport Travel. Is the mid-afternoon start time the best kickoff time for a UCF fan at a home game? Well, come on. No. It's never a good time, in my opinion, especially in the Florida sun. I mean, if it's, I don't know, maybe if it's raining or something, it would be better. But no, it's never a good time. It's probably a good time for the players. Personally, I remember playing college football, and I liked to play the early games and get it over with and have time to do whatever you wanted to do that evening on a Saturday, have the rest of the weekend off. But that was about it. From a fan's perspective, though, I think it's horrible time. I guess we have one coming up at noon? Is USF at noon?
No, I think this next SMU game. Well, I don't know about home game.
No, home. I don't. Is UConn a noon game?
UConn probably will be a noon game. Yeah.
I'll have to look here.
It'll most likely be a noon game. They announced it. I just don't remember what it is off the top of my head.
Okay, that must be the one that he's talking about then. Let me see here real quick. What does it say? Oh, yeah. Well, SMU is at noon. No, UConn's 4. So, and I don't think usually the War on I-4 game is not a noon game.
It's a night game.
So, yeah. No, I don't think that we have hopefully we don't have a noon game. That's usually, it was an earlier game last year, I think, maybe USF was 4:00 game maybe or something like that. But I don't think, hopefully not a noon game. That'd be horrible.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I hate noon games, so I don't know.
I'm with you on that. I mean, we both, frequent the Cabana. I have season ticket seats there, and I can tell you, whether it's warm or not,
it sucks wherever you're at.
Yeah, that sun when you're sitting across from the tower till it reaches past the tower at about 4:00. It's beating down on you no matter what. Now, I will say this: it was cold the other night. And when we get really cold nights, when we get cold nights with wind whipping through the stadium, I will say it's nice to have a little sun. But by and large, you have shorter tailgating because of that, and you have the sun if you're on the east side of the stadium. I'd much rather not have a noon game.
Yeah, no, none of us like noon games, I don't think. All right, thank you for your question, though. Next one, UCF's Zach, and he gave me a pronunciation guide for his handle, which was really cool. So he is the winner of the Tijuana Flats Cash for going the extra mile. He obviously listens, and he gave me a pronunciation guide to his handle. So it's
we tried to figure that one out for a good bit and couldn't get it.
Was this one of the ones that we worked at?
Yeah, it was
I don't know if it was or not.
It was this one. It was this one, and then the other one was the Johnson something.
Yeah. Anyway, this one is UCF Zach, and it's at Zeebles UCF. Zeebles. All right, ZeeBbbles UCF at Zeebles UCF. All right. Anyway. Defense has continued to progress. From your experience and what you've seen, what main factor would attribute to their growth over the season? Confidence, being more comfortable with the system, etc. in parentheses. And how can we do the same with the offense? Well, first of all, with the defense, it's just getting to know your players and getting to know your scheme and your coaches. I really think that's the deal. Remember in the beginning of the year, I was so excited. Oh, man, our defense is going to be awesome. I think this is going to be one of the best defenses we've had in a while. Remember that? Remember me saying that, Roger? I was really excited about the defense. I was just like, man, it's going to be stacked. I was wrong on a couple parts there. I thought Big Cat would have a much larger. I thought he would just sack the quarterback a lot more. I know that he has a large presence out there. It's not that, and I know that every team is focusing on him every week, which doesn't make anything easier. But I think that they're just getting to know each other. They're getting to know each other as players. They're getting to know their coach, and then as time goes on, those things get easier and easier. It all makes sense, when you go for the players that have been here already, going to a completely different scheme than lazy Randy first half or second half Randy was doing, lazy Randy. That makes a huge difference. It is really hard, and you've got to be on the same page with your coaches and your fellow teammates. So I think that's the biggest factor, to be honest with you. With the offense, it's just the quarterback. I really think that it's really the quarterback. With him being so young, that's going to screw it up every time. And then not having one of your biggest weapons out there, maybe a couple of your biggest weapons. With Bowser being out, sometimes you see he takes over games. And then you see what's happened since Jalen Robinson hasn't been out there. I mean, there's basically one guy that the defense really has to cover, or two guys really as wide receivers. There's not three or four. There's two guys that they have to cover: Ryan O'Keefe and Brandon Johnson. I think the injury bug has hurt the offense 10 times more than it has the defense. Our defense would be a lot better, obviously, with Kalia Davis being in there, but they've done very well making up for him not being there. But it's taken two or three guys to do that, So I just think that it's just everybody getting to know each other and getting to know the scheme. Roger?
I'm with you on that. I think the biggest difference for me throughout the season has been the defensive back play. Justin Hodgins is playing a lot better. We're using the boundaries better. We're not. The coaches are trusting them to play one-on-one versus playing zone all the time. So to me, I think the defensive backs are the big difference, because that's allowed us to stack the box, come up with some exotic blitzes from the quote-unquote night position and or linebacker position or the ends. So either way, that's been allowing us to create more pressure, create more turnovers, and sacks. So you've seen the sacks go up dramatically. We're averaging like 4 sacks a game now towards the end of the season, whereas at the beginning, there was hardly any sacks. So to me, I think the big difference maker has been the defensive back play.
Yeah, well, and those defensive backs play better when they know each other and they know the scheme a lot better.
Well, and they know the communication and the hand signals and everything else.
Yeah,
yep.
and they play a lot more man when they don't have to play zone because they know what's going on a little bit more, and they're not afraid of getting burnt playing man. You know, I mean, you play zone because you're afraid of whatever is in front of you there more than anything else, in my opinion. You know, you're just not sure how your man-to-man coverage is going to be, so you play some zone. It's a little easier to do. Everybody has a part. Everybody has a part of the field that they're chasing, not just one player, and it's a lot easier to play zone. So it hasn't worked out that great when we've played zone. It should have been easier for them, but anyway, yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, Zeebles UCF, Zach. I will contact you, and I will get some Tijuana Flats cash over to you. Appreciate that, for especially going the extra mile there. All right. That's going to do it for Ask Knightline. Not a lot of questions, but good questions this week. I'm digging it. So, Roger, you're good with that being the end of that?
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess we have to be.
Yeah, we don't have a choice.
Well, there was another one. I do have to say, Missy McAwesome at UCF Feisty asked me a question as well, but I can't talk about that, and I've contacted her on private message and said, I can't talk about that on air. But that kind of a thing, if you go to Twitter and you see her question there, it's in the works. It didn't happen this season for football. Maybe in the next quarter or whatever it can happen. That's all I can say, though. But it's being talked about and all that stuff. So,
yep. And for those of you with tough pronunciation guides, for your handles, I would recommend give us a week to try to figure it out, and then send us the actual enunciation.
Yeah, because it's more fun that way.
It is.
Absolutely, yeah. We have a blast with this. I really appreciate y'all that interact with us. It makes it 10 times better when we have interaction. So maybe we need to figure out more ways to get interaction, but I'm digging this. So I've always loved Ask Knightline. Always been one of my favorite segments. All right, let's take a little break real quick, and we'll be right back, and we'll get into the game a little bit.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com. All right, 14-10 win over the Tulane Blue Wave or whatever they are. Green Wave, Blue Wave,
Green Wave,
whatever.
Green Wave.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their name is. For those of you that know,
is this
where
practice? Do you think this is practice?
It doesn't matter what your name is. Anyway,
The
Rock. I love The Rock. Anyway, yeah. So that's from my old WWE wrestling days that I used to watch that. I haven't watched that ever since Steve Austin and The Rock went away. I can't watch it anymore. It's not exciting, not fun. I used to love it back in the day. Anyway, who did you ever watch wrestling, Roger?
Way back in the day.
Did you ever watch wrestling?
But before it came out that it was all staged, my parents used to be big wrestling fans. So all the WrestleManias, Macho Man and Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan.
I
Miss
saw those
Elizabeth, the whole
guys
thing.
in person before, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. I did see them. They were. It was like a house show. It was not one of the big televised ones, but I did, and I have gone to pay-per-views. In fact, I was at the pay-per-view where Owen Hart died. Happened right in front of my eyes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, one of the other things, though, speaking, and I don't know if I've ever told this story. I think I may have. Probably have. 7 years doing this, I've probably told a lot of my stories. But I did wrestle in junior high, not high school, but grade school and junior high a little bit. And Harley Race lived in my area. Remember Harley Race, the King Harley Race, when he was in WWE? But before that, back in the Ric Flair days and the Dusty Rhodes days of the NWA, he was
the Four Horsemen.
He was a big dude back then. The Harley Race was incredible. Anyway, he lived in my area, and his kid went to one of the schools very close to mine that we competed in athletics with. So, one of my very first wrestling matches ever in my life, and I was probably in like 5th, 6th grade, something like that. Well, who is it that I'm wrestling? I'm wrestling Harley Race's kid. Who's standing right next to the mat when I'm wrestling? Harley Race. So as a kid that watches wrestling every Saturday morning religiously, and Harley Race being one of the guys, and me not knowing really that they lived around us and all that, and all that, All-Star Wrestling is what it was called. I think it was Midwest based at that point. So Harley Race is standing there with his arms crossed, just staring at me, right? I'm wrestling his kid, I find out. That scared the living crap out of me. Scared the living crap out of me, almost literally. What was I going to do? Was he going to jump on me and beat me if I beat his kid?
No, he was just intimidating you.
Well,
like
it worked.
Wrestling.
It worked because he pinned me within seconds. I mean, it was not even it.
Are you sure it was that, or just that his kid was good because his dad was a pro wrestler?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was. I freaked out though. I completely freaked out. All I could do was look at him. I couldn't even look at his kid. I was just so intimidated by his dad standing there. It worked to perfection. I was shaking. I literally thought that, you watch this stuff and you think that it's real at that age, and I really thought that if I had his kid in some kind of a lock or something, he was going to jump on me and kill me. So, yeah, it was bad. It was, I don't know if it was seconds. It was probably minutes, but it seemed pretty quick. I just remember, I just wanted out of the match. I didn't care if I lost. Just I wanted over with. So my wrestling days did not last very long, though. Yeah. But that's probably my best run in with meeting a wrestler, kind of pro wrestler kind of guy. I did meet a bunch of them over the years. Brock Lesnar, really, really nice guy, believe it or not. Doesn't seem like that on TV. But anyway, all right, let's talk about football. I don't know how we got on this, but whatever.
I don't know, but I can tell you this. I met Hulk Hogan at the drag strip in Tampa. His son, Nick, was running his Supras with a bunch of his fanboy Supra kids. And they were running at the track, and we were running our Mustangs. But he was just standing there on the side of the track. I walked up to him. I recognized him, talked to him, and we were talking cars for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, all those dudes are just normal dudes anyway. I mean, it's the same thing with any pro athlete type guy. They're all pretty just normal people like the rest of us, most of them. All right, anyway, let's talk about this football game. I guess I don't even know where to go.
I guess Shaquem Griffin scared the crap out of Tulane so that they got pinned in.
Yeah, it was nice to see
minutes.
him on the sideline. That was really cool. I did not get to catch up with him, and I wish that I would have. I just didn't have the opportunity.
There were a bunch of guys on the sideline.
Yeah. Aaron Evans was down there. I'm not sure who else. I'm sure there was other people. I did see Ja Reed at one point. So
AK was there.
Oh, was he? I didn't see him.
Yeah.
Did they show him on
AK
TV or
there.
something?
No, I saw some pictures from the sideline.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see him, but that's cool. Yeah, no, it was good. So the craziest thing that has come out of this, by the way, and I don't know who knows this and who doesn't. I don't know if you've been following what's going on with this situation. Coach Malzahn was hit by, who was it? Was it Bullard?
Quadric Bullard.
Quadric Bullard, took him out on the sideline.
He took everybody else out during the game. He might as well take out Coach Malzahn too, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they were, how Coach Malzahn sometimes will jump up and chest bump somebody. I don't know if it was that kind of a situation or whatever, but he just ran over him. Completely ran over him, took him out. I've seen some video of it, but a player walks in between the camera and him right as it happens, so I can't actually see the hit very well. But anyway, he just completely took him out. Here's what Coach had to say about it after the game, because everybody noticed that he went down and was limping and stuff. Here's what he had to say about it.
That was embarrassing. Golly. Well, it was after a big play, and I was getting ready to get the offense up. And Quadric Bullard, he weighs more than 157 pounds. Okay, and he smoked me. And went down and right there whoa, and got back up and just kind of limped around the rest of the game. So kind of embarrassing. I'll be fine. I'll be all right.
You don't conceal injuries, or you don't reveal injuries. A knee, ankle, what is it?
It's a knee. Yeah, and they checked it out just a minute ago. So it was, I'll be all right.
Day to day or week to week?
I'll be ready tomorrow. I don't care. I'm ready tomorrow. I'm not going to be out for nothing.
All right, well, I left the guys in there asking the question because it just made the context a lot better, but that was Mike Bianchi. Well, it turns out that he's not okay. Not okay at all, actually. Today came out to the podium on crutches and has a broken tibia. So here's the deal. I don't know if y'all think this, but I think Malzahn is quite the stud for walking around for 3 hours on that leg out there with a broken leg. It's obviously not fractured, it's not broken in half or something like that. It wouldn't go in the opposite direction because he walked around on it all day. It's probably just cracked but fractured. Anyway, his bone is broken in his leg. It's the big one on the bottom. If you don't know, the tibia, there's the tibia and the fibia. That's crazy. And he's like, oh, I'll be all right. And then he shows up on crutches. So he's on crutches for 6 weeks probably. That brings up a little bit of a thing, though. How are you going to coach? Are you going to coach on crutches? I wouldn't want to coach on crutches if my leg's broken out there on the sideline.
Maybe they'll give him a scooter, like one of those leg scooters where they just
will they allow that on the sideline? That's one of those things as well, though.
I wouldn't see why not.
Safety, what if a player hits that? But I also do remember, didn't Paterno in one of his last years of coaching there at Penn State, didn't he use a golf cart or something? There was something
I don't know.
weird.
He used something. I was thinking more, those little things where if you have your leg is hurt and you can lay your leg
your other leg,
up.
Yeah. And it's like a knee scooter or something. I don't know what they call
that thing.
But,
That's what I was thinking.
But still, man, I mean, he's kind of an animated guy. He likes to run up and down the sideline,
And he was yelling at the refs this game.
He always yells at the refs. I mean, he always yells at the refs.
No. He went full on Scott Frost getting ready to choke
a couple
guy.
of times. Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row. Then there are 2 home games in a row that he's done that. Then I didn't see that this week, but when was that? Was that after the fumble thing that should have been
he was
pass?
all in because he was arguing that his arm was starting to move forward when the ball was knocked loose, and it was so
I'm watching the replay right now, actually, just because I haven't really seen it yet. So interesting. I've only got 1 minute and 44 seconds left in the fourth quarter, though, so nothing horribly exciting at that point. Garbage time. But anyway, get well, coach. That's a bummer that happened. I'm wondering if for some reason that he would have to go into the booth. I was reading on the dungeon earlier, and somebody asked, who would take over his spot? I replied that I think it would probably be Herb Hand, our offensive line coach.
That's what I was going to say.
Because he is kind of Gus Malzahn's confidant anyway, and like you saw probably in the TV thing that ESPN does. That show last week was basically about him and the offensive lineman. You see how well they work together and all that stuff. So I would just assume the on-field coach, if Gus had to sit in the booth or something, that it would be Herb Hand. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah. Bowl eligible now. That's a big deal. That was our 6th win, so that makes us bowl eligible. Here's what Gus. I think Gus knew, but I think it was Mike Bianchi again that said it in the press conference, and it was just, I don't know, it was kind of a different reaction from Gus. So here's what he had to say about that.
You're the first bowl eligible team in the state of Florida.
Hey, how about that? Yeah, there we go. Hey, bowl eligible. Golly, that's a good. That's good to hear right there. Really, I'm proud of our team, and we've had some ups and downs. We're really close to winning a couple others. We've had some tough losses. Our guys hang in there. We got champions, and I'm just so blessed that I inherited this bunch of players. They're wonderful human beings. They do everything you ask. Got a lot of winter in them, and now we're set up. We got 3 more. We got to finish.
What's it mean to get to a bowl game?
It's good, and especially the first year. You get extra practices and develop your young guys. There's a lot more to it than just the actual game, but it's also a reward for our players and our fans and all that. So, real exciting. A lot of positive with that.
All right, well, there's some airtime again there on Knightline for Mike Bianchi. Normally don't do that. I normally don't leave the questions in there, but they just fit the context in these ones. So, yeah, the first bowl eligible team in the state of Florida. And we're having a horrible year, right?
Well, and it's the 6th straight time that we are bowl eligible. So, remember, UCF for a long while was very up and down with our seasons. And so we're starting to even out, and even our bad years, it's the 6th straight year that we are bowl eligible, and we're number 3 in the conference now.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's not as bad as it could have been. I mean, this could have gone a lot worse. Putting a freshman quarterback in there, having all the injuries that we've had. I know it's not the year that we wanted for anybody, but it's not that horrible when you can do that. And I honestly think, and I know a lot of you love to dog the coaches and everything, but if we didn't have a good head coach over there that knew what he was doing and figuring out how to like replace people that had injuries and doing the right thing, for one, we're getting better as we go. That hardly ever happens. You've heard Coach just say that every week. Very hard to get better in the end, after the second half of the season. Getting better in the second half very rarely happens, and we are. So I just, that's a testament to the coaching ability and the type of head coach that Gus is personally. That's my deal there.
Well, a couple other things to note. This is the 3rd game. In the last 3 games, we've had 24 total points scored against us in 3 games. And last year, by comparison, the defense gave up 33 points per game. Now, granted, it was a lot more snaps, right? But this particular game versus last game, the snap count was 61 versus 67 plays. So you can't even blame it on that. The defense is just that much better. And the defense, again, held Tulane to the fewest points scored on the season. And yes, that includes when they played Cincinnati. So I think that's the 3rd game in a row or 4th game in a row that they've held the team that we've played to the lowest scoring total of the season.
Right on. Yeah, our defense is rocking. I want to go back real quick, but I want to go back to Gus Malzahn's opening statement real quick here, because I should have played that before, but we got into the injury and then the bowl thing and all that. So I want to backtrack just a little bit here so I can play this clip. This was just his opening statement that I always play. I think it's honestly the most important thing that comes out of these press conferences, so I didn't want to go on any farther without playing it. Here we go.
hard-fought win. Hats off to Tulane. They're not a 1-8 team. They're a talented team. They had a great plan. Our defense played outstanding. I'm real proud of them. I think 5 sacks again. Just did a super job. Our special teams probably had their best game. We were very stressed about that kick returner. He's dynamic, and of course that last Baker made the tackle in the open space right there, made a super play. I think we downed the football on the 1 yard line. That was a huge play in getting us field position, especially at the end, and just did a good job on special teams. Offensively, it was ugly at times, but our guys found a way. We had the touchdown call back. That was a momentum killer. We didn't get any points out of that. That was real tough. And I'm real proud of our offense from the standpoint they hung in there. There wasn't a lot of good things that were happening. They hung in there, and they made the play at the very end, hit Brandon right there. We did the kind of the stack. We've been throwing out the perimeter on that, and Brandon sold it really good, and Mikey made a good throw, and we're 3-0 in the second half. That's the bottom line. I'm real proud of our team. College football wins are hard to come by. Our crowd was outstanding. Our crowd willed us to win again, and it's just been so impressive. It's an unbelievable home field advantage, and really appreciate our fans.
All right, you love to hear that as well from your head coach. You love to hear that, him talking about the fans. I think that's awesome that he acknowledges the fans because, we do our job, the little job that we have to make noise on when they're on defense or when they're on offense and we're on defense, little things matter. And I think that is a big deal that the coach points that out for the home field advantage. I think that's a really big deal. That's a way to connect with your fans as well. I'm just glad that he does that. So the offense did have some struggles, obviously. Mikey Keene, though, did not have a horrible day. If you look at the stats, not horrible at all, actually. A little bit better than it looked. It looks a little bit better on paper than it did in the game, personally. If I can get my stats pulled up here. I've got the wrong thing pulled up. All right. Well, it's normal. Whatever.
Well,
Mikey Keene, 19 of 25 for 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, longest being 53 there that he threw. Not bad, though, 19 of 25.
76%.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yep, averaged 9.2 yards per pass. And that's up. Remember, guys, when he first started playing, we were all frustrated because he was averaging 3 and 4 yards per pass. Last week, it was over 10 yards per pass. So those numbers are now consistently staying up. I think the big thing everybody was questioning this week is why didn't we open it up some more? Because we were successful when we stretched the field.
Yeah, I think that they wanted to. They really wanted to run against these guys at first, and it just didn't turn out that was the best thing. And then Isaiah Bowser goes down a little bit, doesn't play much in the second half, so that wasn't really working out that great.
The other thing, too, two things from the running game perspective. One, I'm sure that Gus was hiding some stuff for the SMU game next week because they thought they were going to win the game. And number two, that screen game is pretty much figured out, folks. They're just spying Ryan O'Keefe at this point. So you can use them as decoy. That's what happens when you
only have a couple of guys that are playmakers out there.
Yeah. And, you can do that. You can use them as decoy for a while, and that might be the only reason to set up that play again. But then right now, he's our number one receiver until Jay Flash comes back. I wouldn't be wanting to set him up for that because they've tried tunnel screens. They've tried all kinds of different screens. They've tried jet sweeps with him. And basically, all they're doing is spying him now whenever he's in the backfield.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. There's not much you can do about that when he's the playmaker that's out there. So I'm sure there's some stuff that Gus has up his sleeve, though. No question for next week. So Isaiah Bowser did have 14 carries, 57 yards, was averaging 3.9. Johnny Richardson, 7 carries, 23 yards, averaging 2.7. Mark Anthony Richards had 1 for 2 yards, which was a really big run. Very important run to get us that first down late in the game. I think it was late in the game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, late in the game. I was right. Okay. Joey Gatewood, not so great on the running this week. Only one carry for -4 yards, actually. So that didn't work out very good.
Everybody else pretty much had negative yards.
Yeah, Mikey Keene, 6 carries, 5-yard gain, and then a 25-yard loss. So not good on the running game there. Ryan O'Keefe, 13 targets, 11 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Brandon Johnson, 5 targets, 2 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Alec Holler, excuse me. I said it wrong.
Weren't you going to say Alec Holler if you hear me every time you
Alec
said
Holler if you hear me. Yep, that's right. Had 3 targets, 2 catches for a total of 6 yards altogether. Or no, 12 yards, sorry. Isaiah Bowser had the 1 out of the backfield for 24 yards. That was a great play. So there are some stats that are just some notes that came out of this that were pretty cool, though. Let's see. Malzahn is 2-0 against Tulane and is as a head coach. Game marked Cole Snyder's team-leading 43rd career start. Marked the 7th time in 9 games this season that UCF has scored first, now holding a 5-2 record in such games. Ryan O'Keefe went over 1,000 receiving yards in his career, finishing the game with a career high 11 catches for 94 yards and a touchdown, his 5th of the year. Mikey Keene went 19 of 25 and matched his career best with 229 passing yards, adding 2 touchdown passes. And one of the things that is not in this is that Mikey Keene did not throw an interception. Probably, I think it was the first time in his career that he has not thrown an interception. Personally.
His UCF career, correct?
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, it's his only career in college football. You're not counting.
Correct.
It doesn't count his high school career. He also went over 1,000 yards passing on the season and now has 12 touchdown passes in 2021. Here is what Gus had to say about Mikey Keene.
I think he did some good things. I mean, couple third downs we'd like to have back. There's no doubt in the first half, but he made a really good throw under pressure to Brandon. You know, they came field pressure. We faked the reverse off of it. There was a guy coming. He went to the left, made a really good throw, and of course the last one was excellent. Excellent throw also.
All right, I think that he's definitely showing some improvement. Obviously, he's getting a lot more comfortable out there. Here's what Mikey Keene has to say on his improvement.
I just feel like getting more games under my belt gives me more confidence. Also getting playmakers back and things like that. We had Isaiah Bowser back this past few weeks. I mean, he's a huge part for defenses to try and focus on. Ryan O'Keefe's making huge plays. Brandon Johnson making huge plays. So just getting all of our guys healthy. And, I mean, really it's just what I do in preparation for the week. I'm more comfortable with the routine that I'm in now. So it's just preparation during the week. I feel very comfortable with what's going on. My coaching staff is getting comfortable with how we're handling things. So it's just a full effort with being able to come out and execute on a Saturday. So everything that just kind of leads up to the week, I feel more comfortable with. All
right, more comfortable at the podium as well, being out there for a couple different times. So definitely good for that. He also, this is what he had to say about the no interceptions.
That was very important to me. Always coming into the game, it's always important to protect the ball because we know that our defense is going to be able to hold up. So if we protect the ball, don't give the defense any easy way out, we'll be able to come up with a win. So defense always provides for us, so we just got to keep the ball away from their offense, honestly, and set our defense up in great positions because they're going to be able to come through. Had that one fumble though. Just got to try and eliminate all turnovers. That was kind of crucial at the end of the half. But we'll go back, see what happens. Just get better from this. But obviously, try and protect the ball as best as I can. That's my job as quarterback. So just trying to keep that and keep continuing that.
All right. Well, I think that he is learning from his mistakes, and that's something that you obviously like to see from him. It would be bad if he wasn't. One of the things that is always impressive, the very first thing that he's said coming up to the podium is what I'm going to play next. And this is what you kind of want to hear from your quarterback when you ask, about the game, just starting off. I just like it when there's a conversation like this.
You know what? I just got to give credit to the defense first, and obviously give credit to Tulane as well. That's a great team. Like Ryan said earlier, their record doesn't speak for what they are. They've played some top teams, and they've competed every single week, so all respect to them. But our defense, once again, played lights out tonight. Offense, we had to get a few things clicking, but when we needed to provide, we came through in crunch time, so I'm happy about that, happy about the win, but just got to get better and keep stacking. Got a big one next week.
All right. Well, I like it when a guy doesn't come out and talk about himself when he's asked about himself personally. To me, that means a lot. And it shows leadership and, a little bit of growing up there. So,
well, I'm glad he didn't really talk too much truth about the O-line because they did not have a good day this week.
Yeah, it wasn't their best. I think I said this on the radio show. As time goes on in the season of football, the O-line, everybody's taking their hits, but the O-line's really taking their hits about this time of the year. And there's been a couple of those guys that haven't been completely healthy anyway. So, especially Matt Lee. So, it's one of those things, I worry a little bit about the depth that we have on the O-line with the way that things didn't work out, and then those guys being all older as well. But I still have faith in them. I don't know, maybe they saw a different scheme or something a little bit different this week. But yeah, the last couple of weeks hasn't been perfect for those guys.
I can tell you the vast majority of the mistakes came from Marcus Tatum this game. He was constantly being beat by Dorcius and others. They were scheming to set him up. He's at left tackle, to set him up as the one to attack. So he was consistently beaten this game. It was very interesting to see because nobody's really picked on him all year like that. The other thing Tulane did, and that made it a long day for the offensive line that people aren't thinking about, is they stacked the box the whole game. They were trying to make us beat them through the air because they knew we had a stout running game, and they just sold out on the box. So, when you're watching them, yes, the O-line had a long day. However, understand that they were undermanned in their protections the entire game for this. So, that's a big reason why you saw them underperform versus what we're used to seeing.
Yeah. Well, he's the guy that's been playing with that group the least as well. So I guess they saw something and decided to pick on him, which it happens. Good coaches find people to pick on.
Mismatches.
They find
that's
mismatches.
What they're looking for.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So, I don't know. I have faith in him. I think that he's done a good job. Like you said, it hasn't been a problem all year. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he had something going on as well. So, the defense definitely did a lot better, though. They've been doing a lot better in previous weeks as well. So the defense played a great game, only allowing 10 points from an offense that had put up some pretty good numbers. This team, this Tulane team, and we talked about it last week, and I'm still talking about it, that everybody's really still talking about it, that they've played a lot of good teams, and they're not what their record shows. We know that, especially if you watch them play Oklahoma in the beginning of the season. I really thought they were going to pull that out, and Oklahoma was number 2 at the time. They're not a bad team. They've just got something going on. I don't know if it's who knows what it is, but
big thing was turnovers for them all season. They were plus 10, I think, on turnover, or negative 10 on turnovers. Whatever that is, I can't remember which one it is, plus or negative.
It would be negative when you give them away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were -10 on turnovers in the last few games. So they just had a lot of turnovers. Now, they didn't turn over the ball against us. We didn't have any interceptions this game or anything else. But that's really what hurt them the last few games.
All right. Yeah, I agree. All right. Here's what Gus had to say on the D.
They've done a good job. We've given up very few deep balls over the top. I mean, we've kept everything in front of us, and it's all about us stopping the run. When we stop the run, that's exactly what happens. And that quarterback was back. He's been playing a lot of football. They've got 2 running backs I'm very impressed with. And so overall, I mean, to hold what do we hold them to 10 points? I mean, that's hard to do in college football. Last week, if we'd have kept our ones in, we'd had a shutout. I mean, we're starting to play really, really good football and defense. They're taking on Travis's personality. Travis was a dynamic player himself, and he's doing a super job, him and the staff. Our defense is growing. You've seen it each week, and starting to settle in. And, we're tackling well. We're putting pressure on the quarterback. If you remember first 4 games, it was like, hey, we're going to be able to sack the quarterback. Well, now you can see, they're pinning their ears back and they're getting after the quarterback.
All right. Well, that's all the stuff that we talked about earlier as well. So definitely playing a lot better. I love what's happening with our defense now. I wish that it would have been earlier in the season, but it's not. So it has to be happening now.
4 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, 5 QB hurries, 7 passes defended. At the beginning of the season, you didn't see very many passes defended either. So we were doing more penalties than we were passes defended. So again, that defensive back room has been doing great. Tatum Bethune had himself a game, as did Bryson Armstrong and Quadric Bullard this week. So that was really exciting. Seeing Matt Lee back out there was good. Tremont Morris-Brash was helping with pressure. He actually got half a sack in the game. But here's the interesting thing. 3 out of the 4 sacks did not come from the D-line. They were Bryson Armstrong, who's a linebacker, Quadric Bullard, who's a defensive back, and Corey Thornton. Each got solo sacks. And Corey obviously is a defensive back as well, and he's really starting to develop. So Bethune got the other half a sack. So it was really, really interesting to see that it was the defensive backs this week and not the defensive line that got home with the sacks. But overall, we held Tulane to under 300 yards in total offense. It was like 229 yards or something like that. I have that a little later on. I'll come back to that, but held them basically to under 150 yards passing. They had 132 yards rushing. Spears was one of the guys that Gus was talking about. He was actually pretty good. I was very, very impressed with his running. He got yards after contact and kept running through it. Time of possession, about the same, 33-12 versus 26-48. But here was one thing that, again, we did better than last week, but we need to keep an eye on for SMU. We were 6 of 17, so Temple was 35% on third downs. We were 4 of 14 or 28%. We have to win. We have to win that statistic if we're going to win against Temple. Penalties again, much better this week, 4 for 29. So from a yardage perspective, a little better than last week, but overall really, really good. And the other thing was, special teams played pretty clean. Obarski missed that one kick. But again, folks, and I don't think it would have mattered, we got pushed back on that 5-yard penalty, but the kick just came. I don't know what happened on that kick, but it completely came off his foot. Huh?
You ever play golf?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like when you play golf, every once in a while you just don't hit it right. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
he just didn't hit it right. Plus, it was windy in there too. It was spitting rain, and it was kind of funky in there all day. It was cold and windy. So, I mean, I don't know if that had anything to do with it or whatever. I know the ball fell off the tee one time going into a kickoff. So, it was definitely windy in there.
Titus kind of scared me there for a minute when on that one punt return where he fumbled it and we recovered it. So
I haven't been impressed with him doing kickoff returns or punt returns at all this year.
Yeah.
Just haven't been impressed. And we
I
haven't
don't
seen
know.
him really in the offense at all doing anything. I know he's a freshman, but he's a 4-star freshman. He's supposed to be, I'm shocked that we haven't seen something out of him all year long. So
Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking too, going back and just thinking about Mikey Keene and his performance. One thing I did notice, and I think that did affect our running game, is if you watch Keene, he had several plays where he just made the wrong read on RPOs. I mean, they were just completely wrong. And yes, he's a freshman, so again, but he'd done pretty good with that in weeks past. So I don't know what they were doing to confuse him, but obviously Tulane was doing something to confuse him. And then, the other question I had in my mind from this game, what did you think of the 2 runs on consecutive plays on the final 2 minutes of the game? We had the ball. I know we're trying to run clock, but it was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. We hadn't been successful all game trying to run the ball. And, I think you take a shot with one of those downs, wouldn't you?
I do not know what you're talking about, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Sorry. But
you were 1 minute 44 on the replay. I forgot. So
yeah, I did. I didn't notice that. I mean,
we had
probably just trying to run the clock out and get out of there.
No. I know he was, but we had about 2.5 minutes left in the clock on the clock. We ran 2 consecutive run plays instead of trying to get the first down with a pass on one of them. And, it gave Tulane some time. Now, obviously, at the end there, Quadric Bullard almost came through with the interception, but he ended up dropping it. And I don't know what Tulane's quarterback was thinking, but they had some serious miscommunication there on that last one to set up the Hail Mary. But yeah, it was. It was
why
interesting.
They're 1-8.
Yep.
I mean, that's
part of
why.
the reason.
Yeah, that's part of the reason. It was 279 yards that they had, by the way.
There
total.
you go.
Yeah, 147 passing, 132 rushing. We only had 48 yards rushing in this game, and we won. Which was kind of funky, personally. 229 passing does not hurt though. Okay, what else do I got here? As far as clips go, here's Gus Malzahn talking about Jalen Robinson flash and, what the situation is this week.
He practiced 2 weeks ago, and we just felt like, not quite ready. He was more improved this past week, so he was available in like an emergency situation. We're hoping he makes the same progress this week, and he'll be ready to go with that.
All right. Well, that sounds good for SMU, personally, for him. So I would love to see him back for a big game where we will need him more than any, honestly. So hopefully he makes it back. And I'm glad that they're not if he's not ready, he's not ready. And I'm glad that they're not putting him out there if he's not ready, because that leads to lingering injuries if you re-injure whatever it is that's injured. So I'm glad about that. The other thing, Spirit Splash was this weekend, and it was on Friday, I think. And Gus Malzahn had a chance to partake in that a little bit, and here's what he had to say about it.
First of all, I was completely shocked there'd be that many people out there when it's pouring down rain, and went out there like, wow, this is a special place, and so, and they say when it's sunny, there's twice as many people. I don't know how you fit twice as many people, but it was a great experience.
All right. Well, one of the greatest traditions in any college, personally. So cool that he was able to take part in that. And I heard, was it Terry Mahajer that went out there and got in the pool?
Yeah,
well?
with the yellow duck trunks on. Yep.
Good. For
I didn't
him.
expect anything less from him, though.
So I think I've said that Terry Mahajer was a GA on my team in college in Kansas, and from what I haven't talked to him yet, and I've just kind of, maybe during a basketball game or something, I'll have a chance to talk to him. I just haven't wanted to bother him. But he's the same dude. It's the same guy. I didn't really like him when he was a GA, just because I didn't really like the GAs very much anyway. Just because they'd be kind of hard on us at times. But he's the same guy. Gets really excited. And I like to see him on the sideline of the football games, running up and down and going crazy. I think that's great when your AD does that. So I really, really appreciate that. Okay, that has to do okay.
I think that's it for Tulane.
Yeah, that's it for Tulane. That's what it's getting late, and all right.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's a wrap on Tulane. Let's talk about SMU here. Well, you know what? Let's take a little break, and then we'll come back and talk about SMU. And then we've got this. I had a long conversation with Ben Stout about basketball. It's a basketball preview, and that's coming up next. Or not next, but it's coming up.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Welcome. This is a promo for the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast, new to the Knightline Sports Network. You should listen to it. I say things like this.
We need to stop blaming Jerry because we would do the exact same thing if we owned the Dallas freaking Cowboys. Do you know how much fun it is to own the Dallas Cowboys?
My guests will say things sometimes like this.
It's the Lord of the Flies thing that happens when they don't understand that things are wrong. Spoiler alert, until Piggy dies.
Yeah, Lord of the Flies has been out for like 100 years. I don't even know.
Yeah. Sorry to everyone at home who I spoiled the book for. A book's been out for like 90 years or something.
And sometimes, rarely though, I'll say really stupid things like this. If they don't make it out of the West and the Raptors get to the finals, I will go on either this show or whoever's show and say that Kawhi Leonard is overrated because I have too much evidence of it. New episodes drop every Friday with me and some of my good friends right here on the Knightline Sports Network.
All right, on to SMU. It will be noon on ESPNU coming up on Saturday. Right now we are a 7.5-point underdog. The matchup predictor, which I love so much, on ESPN's Football Power Index, gives SMU a 69.4 chance to win the game, which gives us a 30.6% chance to win the game. They have a heck of a quarterback. They have a couple pretty good running backs and a receiver that's doing pretty well off of that quarterback's job. Mordecai, and I can never, it's Tyler or Taylor or Tanner or something. Tanner Mordecai is doing very well this season. Very, very good job. 34 touchdowns, 9 interceptions for 2,887 yards. He is 230 of 328. So he is doing a very good job, obviously, there, comparatively to our quarterback situation. He came from Oklahoma as a transfer, and he was behind 2 different Heisman Trophy winners. So anytime that you have the chance to be a backup to those guys, you're going to learn a lot, and you're probably a pretty good quarterback. So transferred to SMU, and he is a pretty good quarterback.
Yep. This game's going to be about our defense, right? Can we get pressure on Tanner Mordecai? If we can, he'll be in good shape. They average 40.1 points per game versus our 32.4. However, they only scored 25 last week and 37 the week before in losses to Memphis and Houston. Yards per game, 483 for them versus 404.6 for us. They allow 413 versus we only allow 315 or 352 yards per game at this point. That number actually dropped by 10 points or 10 yards over last week, which just goes to show you how well we did against Tulane. Most of their yards are through the air at 322.2 per game, which again means that if we can stop Mordecai and we can get pressure on him, I think we have a good shot at playing this game at least close, if not winning. Both of the losses that they were playing that they had, which was the last 2 games in a row because they're 7-2, were away games. So they are playing at home this week. And he only had 262 yards against Memphis. So the last 2 games they've been trending. Mordecai's been trending down, and guess what? They lost both of those games. So again, that's the key. They do have a win against TCU. They did lose against Houston. We didn't play them last year. We had divisions. Americans divisions are going away now, but we had divisions, so we didn't play versus them. Running, it's 161 for them yards per game versus 107 or 187 for us. Now that number plummeted. We were over 200 yards per game before this week's less than stellar performance, and they allow 287 yards through the air. So one thing that could happen is if we let Mikey Keene loose again, and he performs well, the key to the game for me in beating SMU is pressure Mordecai, stretch the field successfully a few times to open up the running game. If we can do that, I think we'll have a good shot against SMU.
Okay. I think it's going to come down to our defense. And, I mean, like you said, pressure and Mordecai and stopping the run. I think those are the 2 things that we have to do. No big plays. And that's what our defense is kind of becoming known for, luckily, is not having a lot of big plays in the air against them and stopping the run fairly decent. And getting to the quarterback. That's what we've been doing the last couple of weeks since all this, has really come together for them. So I think we have a pretty good chance, to be honest with you. I think SMU, I don't know if they've lost their swagger or what it is with them, but they have not played well the last couple of games, and I hope that they continue that skid. I'm going to say we do. Continue that skid for them, and they get another loss. I know that they're going to be at home. I know that they're going to be, pissed off probably, but I think that our team knows that this is a big game. They know that this is a time where they can make a splash in what they've been doing, and I think our defense has that in front of them, and that's what is going to happen personally.
Yeah, and they are coming on at the right time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think especially the defensive backs, and, again, if the defensive backs can hold up, that allows us to crowd the box and get after him. So if we can do that, I think we will be in good shape.
Yeah, so if you're a betting person, UCF plus 240 on the money. And over-under 60.5 on this game, with SMU being a 7.5-point favorite. So, and it's pretty much stayed there. It did go to 8 for a second and then went back. So 7.5 is where it's at. So, all right. I don't know how much more we can say about this. It is what it is. We have common opponents. They beat Navy barely. We did not do well against Navy, obviously. And then they lost to Memphis, and we beat Memphis. So,
yep.
In fact, we held Memphis to 7 points, and then Memphis scored 28 on them. So they 28-25 was the score in that one. So if that, makes any difference, that could be huge. that Memphis was able to score on them and not on us. I understand that it was probably they had their quarterback back, which they did not have against us. But us holding Memphis, that low and them only being able to score that much on them. So they scored one more point than we did on Memphis, which is kind of interesting. They scored 25, we scored 24. So, yes, they have had a high-powered offense in some of the games, though. So, Tulane, a common opponent as well, they won 55-26 against Tulane. So, Tulane scored 26 against them. They scored 10 against us. But they scored a lot more against them, obviously. So,
right.
Alrighty, let's talk to Ben Stout about basketball. How about that? It's
Sounds
exciting.
good.
Haven't talked about basketball for a while. Basketball, this could be a great year. Lots of returners. This could be a special year for UCF basketball. I'm hoping
for both teams, men's and women's.
Absolutely, yeah. We only talked about men's. We didn't get into the women's. But maybe we'll talk about that next time with Ben. But we stuck with the men's because that's coming up on Wednesday. Believe it or not, basketball starts Wednesday night on ESPN. Not on ESPN. ESPN Plus, I think. I got to get that schedule in front of me here. Hang on just a second. Hang on. Come on. ESPN.com. Come on, ESPN.com, because it gave me the wrong thing. Still looking at football. All right, here we go. It is at 7 p.m. and it is on ESPN Plus against Robert Morris Colonels. All right, here's Ben Stout. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Knightline's own 7-footer, Ben Big Social Stout, and Inside the Paint. All right, welcome back, Ben. We're actually going to talk basketball now. We've been talking football all year, but finally it is basketball time. 2 days away, actually. This is Monday night, so Wednesday night we play basketball against who is it? Robert Morris. Well, I don't know anything about Robert Morris. Do you know anything?
No,
about them?
I don't. I know that we should start off the season with a win.
Is it just one guy named Robert that's going to be out there on the court for them, or a bunch of guys named Robert? I don't know. I don't even know what Robert Morris is.
I think Robert Morris is actually up in Pennsylvania, and the only reason why I know that is because there's a big camp up there called 5-Star Basketball Camp that I went to when I was in high school up at Robert Morris College. So
yeah, I'm Googling it now. So.
But yeah, we kick off I guess we tip off the season, right? I have to get a little bit out of football mode, but we tip off the season. Yeah, you're right. This Wednesday night against Robert Morris. So I'm excited for the hoop season to get started. It should be a good year.
All righty. I'm still Googling for Robert. It's in Pennsylvania. Yes, like you said.
Yeah.
Private university, Moon Township, Pennsylvania.
That's right.
All right. 5,000 students, 60 bachelor's degrees, 35 master's and doctoral programs. All right. Do you know what conference they play in? Is that a thing?
I couldn't tell you that. You stumped me on that one. I do not know what conference they play in.
Okay. I don't know. Colonial League. That's it. Okay.
So I wanted to say the Colonial League, but Robert Morris are the Colonials. That's their mascot. So I was like,
okay,
wait,
maybe they're not in the Colonial League then. I just saw Colonials, so I don't know. Who knows? Okay.
Robert Morris College is in the Horizon League.
Horizon League. Okay.
Good old ESPN helped me out on that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, on their website, it says Horizon, Big South, MAC, Sun, and MAC. MAAC, the Sun Conference, and then MAC. So they playing a bunch of different conferences, it looks like, for their sports.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, but your favorite matchup predictor has an 87.2% chance for UCF to take them down at home on Wednesday night. So hopefully it should be a good start to the season for us.
All right. Yeah, I like it. So what are you looking forward to with this season? I know that there's a lot of returning people, that even some people that we didn't think were returning and now are returning, some people that we thought were returning and aren't. There's been a lot of change, and then not so much change in a way, too.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, to think that we return every player who started a game for UCF last year, and as you know, we've been talking about Johnny Dawkins' team for years now, and we know that he likes to play around with starting lineups and start different groups every other game or so to try to find it, especially in the beginning of the season. But last year, unfortunately, it was kind of out of necessity that we had a lot of different starting lineups because we had a lot of stoppages for COVID, or we're playing with 5 guys in practice because we half the team is out. So it was a little bit more interesting on that front. But every player who started, our 9 top scorers last year are all back for the Knights. It's pretty insane to think about. We're something like 97% of our scoring from last season is back in our on the roster this year. And then we also got some great additions, couple of transfers, and one of the best recruiting classes by the numbers that we've ever had at UCF. So he has a ton of, as long as we can stay healthy, which is always a big if. It seems like Johnny Dawkins has a lot of depth to play with, a lot of different types of players and lineups that he can mix it up with. The theme of the team with Johnny Dawkins' teams is always going to be about defense, and we have some seriously great defenders coming in and, of course, returning for us with guys like C.J. Walker and some of those guys coming in, Bake Jiang from UNLV. He is an excellent defender, so those 2 players playing together in the same front court should be, the basket should be very well protected with those 2 guys. But I can't really pinpoint one thing that one particular player that maybe I'm looking forward to the most is seeing the progression from his freshman year of a guy like Isaiah Adams. Does he take that big step forward in his second year in a UCF uniform? This is his first off season that he's been able to participate in. They've been together all summer, working out and playing hard and getting ready for this season. So, and he didn't have that last year, along with Jamil Reynolds. None of them were able to play together, prior to the season last year. So, I just think with a full roster, with hopefully a healthy roster throughout the year, seeing how these guys finished out the year last season and going into this season with all that momentum and all those returners, just overall, I think it's right to have a little bit of higher expectations for this team. I think they're going to hopefully gel right away and just get off to that hot start. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you mentioned Isaiah Adams there, and Johnny Dawkins during the media day this last week was asked about Isaiah Adams and what he would like to see from him. I'm going to play that clip real quick here.
I like to see him, continue to play with passion and desire, which is his best talent to me. He just plays so hard. He's so competitive, and he definitely has continued that. His overall skills gotten better, putting the ball on the floor. He's shooting the ball better. Of course, that comes with just, the reps and understanding what you have to work on. And so he's improved in the areas that we want to see him improve in. And can he get better? Absolutely. He's still a work in progress, but he has made significant improvements that I think are going to help his game and help our team.
All right. Well, that's exciting that Johnny Dawkins says right there that he's made improvements.
Yeah,
he was pretty good before, I thought, as a freshman.
He absolutely was. And one of the things I was really impressed with Isaiah Adams last season as a freshman was he was pretty good with shot selection. He didn't take a whole lot of bad shots, didn't try to force too much. He used his size and his quickness to get to the rim and have a high percentage of a high field goal percentage on the court. He was actually 9th in the conference at 46.6% from the floor last year. And the other part of his game that I think is is the reason why he's here, because Dawkins stresses it so much, is he is a pretty good on-ball defender, but just in general, his defensive instincts are, I would say, probably overlooked just because he's so talented with the ball in his hands. But he certainly can get it done on the defensive end as well. And with his, like I said, with his size and his just kind of savvy way he plays the game, I'm looking forward to him taking a big step forward this year.
As far as big men, this one guy that you mentioned earlier, and I'm not even going to try to say his name. I know he transferred from UNLV. What are you looking for from him? I mean, he's a transfer. He hasn't played here yet, but he's definitely a big man. 6'11", 235 is what he's listed on here.
Yeah, so I've seen it. So his name is Sheikh Mbake Diong, but he goes by Bake. That's what everybody calls him. That's what Johnny Dawkins called him in the press conference. So he goes by Bake. But he's an impressive player. He can run up and down the court for his size really well. I've watched some tape on him from his UNLV seasons, and he's got extreme amount of quickness for his size on the defensive end, especially like where he'll be able to switch on defenders from a screen and then also get back and recover. And he's had a lot of trailing blocks last year where he was just slamming the ball off the backboard because he was like recovering when a player would come off a screen and try to go up for the layup, and he would recover and get back to the basket so fast and block the shot. So again, as I mentioned earlier, him and CJ Walker in the same front court. I mean, those are two guys that CJ Walker was, I think, the first in the conference last year and about 2 blocks per game. So he was first in the conference at blocks per game last year. And I think that Mbake was first, or he was fourth, or he was top 5 in his conference for blocks per game in the Mountain West Conference at UNLV. So we got two guys that really know how to protect the basket, have really good quickness for their size. And so I think that's going to be a huge asset to us bringing him in. And he's another guy as a grad transfer coming in. He has only been with the team for a month, or however long he's been here. He's only been here this season, and he was already voted captain on the team. So he's established himself right away. I mean, on the radio show, we talk about guys like Big Cat Brian being voted captain, and Brandon Johnson, these transfers that have come in and established themselves as a leader right away. Certainly that is the case with Mbake, and he's a guy that's established himself right away as a leader, and his teammates recognize that by voting him captain. So it looks like there's a lot of bright things to look forward to with him.
All right, I'm just looking at the roster here real quick on the Knights website, and they're listing Darius Perry and who else? Brandon Mahan as fifth-year guys. I guess they're not using the super senior thing or whatever, but I guess these guys have they gotten an extra year because of the COVID thing? Is that what is going on there? So that's why they're calling them fifth year?
Yeah, that's exactly why they're calling him fifth year. So last year, as you know, it didn't count towards eligibility for all basketball athletes, so they had the option to come back. And those two guys coming back, Darius Perry and Brandon Mahan,
huge.
It's huge for us. I mean, those are our top 2 scorers from last year. They're the only 2 players that were on the all-conference teams in the American Conference last year. Darius Perry, when he was in the lineup, because there was a few games that he was out, whether it was battles with, illness or battles with
I remember
injuries that he had.
Yeah, towards the end of the season or something, he started off real strong, I believe.
Yeah, and then it was kind of towards the middle of the season where he had to come out for a little while, and our team kind of stalled out a little bit. But once he really got back into the lineup and it was going strong, he certainly brings the energy, and he makes our offense especially really click. He's able to. His drive and kick game is really strong. He's kind of deadly when it comes to when he wants to take control of a certain situation on the offensive end, whether it be a big shot or just trying to drive to the basket, get close to the basket, and maybe dish it off to his teammate. I think him coming back was huge, and then Brandon Mahan as well. I mean, he had the exact opposite, right? He had a huge start to the season. Brandon Mahan was just like on fire. He had like 32 points against number 15 in the country, Florida State, and kind of drove us to that victory. He kind of fizzled out a little bit towards the middle of the season and kind of found his way towards the end, but him coming back is huge for us as well, kind of another senior leader. But you're right, both of those guys are fifth year guys, and the only reason why they're able to play in their fifth year is because of that last season not counting. So weren't sure if they were going to come back and join us, but I sure am glad they are back, and I think that stability and having those guys back is a huge part of our not only starting lineup, but just adding the depth of this overall team is just fantastic.
All right, I'm going to show my basketball ignorance here just a little bit. I'm going to ask a really dumb question, and you shouldn't be surprised. But so isn't there a position called center?
Of course.
Why don't we have anybody listed as a center? We have forwards and guards.
Yeah, and I think that's a product of kind of the new age of basketball, where Johnny Dawkins plays a lot of what we would call kind of positionless basketball, where he doesn't have a true back to the basket center on the court. And so just the nature of the way that he kind of runs his offense, I guess they just don't list any players as center, even though when it comes to players like Jamil Reynolds and Mbake Jiang that we just talked about,
those guys obviously,
those are our centers. Yeah.
Okay, that's
There's
what
no
I
doubt
thought, but I was just looking
centers.
and I'm like, what? I swear I thought that there was a center.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was at UCF, in the sense of like Kirk Spera, I mean, we ran like a real motion offense where basically the power forward and the center had very similar jobs, just opposite sides of the court. And so even then, I was called a center, but myself and the power forward kind of did similar things, and it's different in the way Dawkins runs his system, where they have a lot of high posts for the center, but certainly it's just kind of a terminology thing. So yeah, I know I can be confusing, but it's more of a terminology.
One more dumb question.
Sure.
So I know in basketball, obviously, it's not like football where there's defensive guys and offensive guys. I mean, there are some guys that specialize in defense, obviously, versus offense, comparatively in basketball. CJ Walker, we know he's a very defensive-minded guy. Who are the offensive-minded guys? I mean, like the guys, I guess the Darius Perry and the guys that score a lot, I guess would be the more offensive type players, correct? I mean,
yeah, I think what you're asking is like, who are we going to go to in like tough situations to get a bucket, right? And I look at Darius Perry is the number one. Obviously, being the point guard, being the guy that drives brings the ball up the court and kind of has the ball in his hand the most. Darius Perry is that guy, but that is his mentality too. He's got that big killer instinct on the court. But then you look at other players like Darren Green, right? Darren Green Jr. is a guy that we talked about a ton when he was a freshman. Just his shooting ability being fantastic, especially displayed that in his freshman year from the moment he stepped on the court at UCF. Last year he had a pretty good season, but I think by his standards, he would tell you he would be honestly admit that he probably didn't live up to as good a season as he was hoping for in his sophomore campaign, mainly because his shooting from a percentage standpoint and his shot selection was just a little bit inconsistent. Some games he would blow up for like 6 threes and just dominate from the 3-point line and just really make some spectacular shots. And then in other games he would go, 0 for 4 or 1 for 6 or something and just really kind of fizzle out and you wouldn't even notice he was on the court hardly. So I think Darren Green Jr. is primed to take a big step forward in his third year at UCF. And he's a guy that we're going to need to be able to knock down big shots for us. So as far as the offensive players go, those two big guards are certainly ones that we're going to be looking forward to doing that and stepping up in that role. Brandon Mahan obviously is fully capable of that. Does he take a big step forward and kind of be that killer that we saw in the beginning of the season last year against teams like against FSU?
Yeah, didn't he
where he
like
was just knocking
score
down
like
every
30
shot
or whatever that one game, the FSU game?
Yeah,
I remember
32.
he just went off.
He had
And
32 in that game.
Yeah, and then the rest of the year it was kind of like, I mean, it wasn't anything like that.
Yeah, it was odd with Brandon, and Coach Dawkins talked a lot about it in last year during press conferences, where Brandon started out the season so hot, and then he was just scoring like unbelievable, and then all of a sudden, defenses and the other teams and the scouting reports just kind of catch up to that, where they're keying in on him and they're saying, okay, well, this guy's the man, so we got to stop him. And
they just
that was where
took him
there was
out
long
of the game
stretches.
completely. Yeah.
What's that?
And they just kind of took him out of the game completely. We see
They
that
did.
with football as well,
Yeah, they did. So can he kind of break through this year and make sure that he can make those big buckets when we need them is a little bit of a question mark based on what we saw last year. But I mean, as long as he can kind of step up from what he and shows some of the things that he did at the beginning of the season last year, he's fully proven that he's capable. So those guards are going to be ones that we look to. And then lastly, I know we've talked about him a lot, but Isaiah Adams is one of those guys that high percentage guy. He's going to make the right play. He's a very savvy offensive player, so he's one that certainly is going to putting the ball in the hole.
Right. Speaking of offense there, putting the ball in the hole, here is what Johnny Dawkins said, what he wants to see from his offense this year.
Offensively, we have to be a more specific team from the standpoint of shot selection. I want to see our team understand the value of shot selection. I want to see us take care of the ball a little more. So those are two things, the areas that we've really focused on this summer and this fall, just taking care of the basketball and making sure we're searching out really good shots.
All right, what do you think about that from Johnny Dawkins there?
Yeah, I think it's true. And one of the things that I imagine he's stressing in practice as well is not only taking good shots, but making the right play from a passing standpoint, making sure they're sharing the ball really well. They're setting up their teammates really well. What we had when we struggled last year was a lot of one-on-one ball, a lot of times where certain players would just try to take it upon themselves, and they'd be dribbling too much, and then they'd make wrong decisions, or as Dawkins just mentioned, they kind of take a bad shot. A shot that if they would have just made that one extra pass would have been the right play. Instead, they took a bad shot and wound up, right on the other end for a score for the other team. And so, hopefully that lines up well with the amount, not only the off season that they've had together to really gel, before they start playing basketball together on the court, but really kind of build off of the momentum that they built towards the last, let's call it 7 or 8 games of the season last year, where we finally got our full strength of roster. We finally got over some of the starts and stops that we had from COVID, and we strung together. I think we won 6 of our last 7 games last season. So hopefully we can build upon that momentum, add a couple extra pieces here with these freshmen and transfers, and really just kind of take off to start this year.
Speaking of freshmen, a really highly regarded freshman is coming in this year. Is that P.J. Edwards? Is that the guy that is the...
So P.J. Edwards is certainly a guy that I'm looking forward to seeing, but Darius Johnson, I think, is the guy that you're thinking of.
Okay.
We got a point guard, 4-star recruit Darius Johnson coming in for the Virginia area.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so what do you know about him?
So he's got an interesting story. Well, not interesting story necessarily, but interesting way that he came to UCF. But he's a 4-star recruit. He was recruited by a lot of top programs in the country. He's from Virginia. He's kind of from that area where Coach Dawkins is from. And actually, his father has been on the on the UCF coaching staff since 2017. So his father is Kelvin Johnson. He's the director of player development for UCF. And I imagine that obviously provided a lot of comfort level with the program. Johnny Dawkins has known him for a long time and kind of watched him develop as a player in high school. But I mean, Dawkins even said it in his press conference this week. I mean, he's a guy that reminds me when I watch his tape as somebody he's 6 foot tall, but he's got a muscular big body. Like he really uses his body well. He gets to the basket well. He's a knockdown shooter, especially when he needs it. He's a guy who averaged 21 points, 6 rebounds, a few assists, even as a junior in high school. And then so he's a guy that's really been an impressive basketball player. He can get to the basket, score through contact. He reminds me a lot. Now, I don't want to put these expectations on him right away.
I mean, what you're describing, I know who you're going to say. And what you just described B.J. Taylor in a way.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And Dawkins even brought up B.J. Taylor when he talked about Darius Johnson in his press conference.
Because B.J. Taylor didn't look like a guy that would be as tough and everything as he was, playing basketball. He just didn't look like a basketball player,
right?
To me,
Yeah, well, but he had that kind of instincts, But
he was incredible. Yeah,
he was certainly a scrappy player that would, was a great leader as well. I mean, Dawkins even mentioned his leadership that he's even come in and displayed as a freshman in Darius Johnson. So he's 6'1", 190, listed on the UCF's roster. I've seen when he was in high school, listed at about 200. He's a guy that seems to be a very strong basketball player, especially with the ball in his hands. He makes the right plays, and he kind of shows those leadership traits. Everything kind of lines up to having that easy comparison to B.J. Taylor, which is a tough comparison to live up to for him as a freshman, but hopefully for us as Knight fans, he lives up to it because he could be exciting. Now, you got other guys like Tony Johnson coming back from an injury that he was out all of last season. So
and I remember him being exciting as well, right? Wasn't he one of the guys? Because I remember there was numerous juniors. There were 2 juniors, and they were both freshmen at the time, right?
Yeah, we actually had 3 juniors. So Dre Fuller is a junior, Tony Johnson Jr., and Darren Green Jr. Yeah, they all three came in at the same time, and Tony Johnson has just gotten a little unlucky with injuries. He had a great first half of the first game last season, and then freak injury. He hurt his knee in warm-ups at halftime of that game,
right?
And he was out the rest of the season. But you're absolutely right, Andrew. He was a guy that you really liked his freshman year. He's a very quick point guard. Is somebody who can distribute the ball very well, but he has a score first mentality at times. But he's a very quick guy that I think will get a lot of playing time this year with the amount of depth that we have. And so it'll be interesting to see where some of these freshmen kind of get plugged in, especially the point guards that we have with the guy that we just talked about, Darius Johnson, how he can work his way into the rotation, because certainly with Tony Johnson coming back, and then of course Darius Perry coming back, we've got 3 really talented point guards, and then other players that are capable of playing the point guard position. So we'll see how Coach Dawkins really rotates those guys in.
So this is a weird question too, but everybody expects me to ask weird questions. So who would you say, if you had to pick one guy on this team, who was the best player on this team? Like just pure basketball player, like just athletic. Who is the
from
best?
Last season?
Yeah, from last season.
I would say that if you kind of looked at the overall, like where we were in the last season, especially towards the end when we were kind of clicking on all cylinders, I'd say that guy, if I'm being most honest, was probably Darius Perry. So Darius Perry was probably the standout from the team last year. You would have obviously asked me that question like 5 games into the season. I would have told you hands down Brandon Mahan. But I think overall body of work, when he was in there, Darius Perry was the best player on our team.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know that's a little weird to ask that, but I just, one of those things. CJ Walker can have a really good year this year as well. And luckily he's only a junior. So, I mean, he could be around a little bit longer if possible. He's an exciting player. I like to watch CJ Walker. He does some crazy stuff out there, and he's all over the place. He's fast. He's one of my favorite players to watch, I think.
Yeah, and mine as well. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's not only his. I mean, I think that there's no doubt that he will compete for Defensive Player of the Year in this conference. He's one of the best, if not the best, on-ball defenders in the conference. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But with his athleticism, with his ability that if he gets the open shot, that he does have the ability to knock it down, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he is just an exciting player to watch. And then, of course, I mean, his highlight reel dunks that he had last season, I mean, doing windmills and, dunking on 2 or 3 people at a time. I mean, he's got that capability,
very
catching
exciting
alley-oops.
Player to watch. Yeah.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not only
he
his
makes
ability,
the game exciting and fun. I mean,
no doubt. It's not only his ability, but the energy that he brings, right? Coach talked about that, or, the energy that he brings to the court, is one that makes him so exciting, right? He, as you said, he's like kind of all over the place because he's just wants to be involved and wants to make his team better, and that's awesome to see as a former 5-star guy, right? Like he clearly doesn't show any type of ego on the court or I have to score all these points to help my team win. He's like, I'll do whatever it takes, whether that's getting the hard rebound or blocking the shot or catching the alley-oop dunk to help my team win. I don't need to be the focal point of the offense every
and
time
I'm always
court.
one of those people that are worried. I was worried when I heard that he was a 5-star and he was transferring here just because of that. And I envisioned it. I was like, oh boy, here we go. He's going to be a diva, but he's not at all. Not at all. Yeah. 100%. Here's what Johnny
he accepted his role right away, and it was really cool.
Yeah. Here's what Johnny Dawkins had to say, what he wants to see from him this season.
I expect to see CJ understand who he is as a player. I mean, people, kind of typecast, athletes, and they want him to be some players that maybe they aren't. I mean, what he is he's an energy guy who plays hard, he defends, he rebounds, he can make an open shot. And that's highly valued. It's highly valued on our level, and it's highly valued on the next level. And if he can just go out there and do those things, play with the same energy and effort that he's been playing with all preseason, continue to knock down open shots when he has those opportunities. He's one of the best defensive players. He should be up for a Defensive Player of the Year in our conference type of award. That's the type of player he should be. And if he does those things, we're better. I think it serves who he is as a player because that's playing to his strengths. And when he does that, I think, everyone wins in that situation.
All right, well, there you go. Yeah.
Hopefully Dawkins doesn't accuse me of plagiarizing his speech, but I agree with him on all accounts.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I said some of the same things too, and I listen to the clips before I do them, but sometimes I just pick clips out, and I know that this clip is about this, and so I hadn't really heard that clip, even though I picked it. So yeah, it happens sometimes like that, but at least we all agree. I mean,
yeah, no doubt.
It's one of those things. I was just going off of what I remember from last year, and I just remembered loving watching him play. And it's one of those things because I'm not a huge basketball fan. I'm much more of a football guy, but with a player like that, though, it's easy to see, that he's one of the best players on the court and just does some amazing things and it is exciting to watch. And honestly, for me not being a huge basketball fan, I want to see the exciting players. I want to see the exciting stuff. It's the boring stuff that makes me, not such a fan. It's the timeouts. It's the, the rolling the clock, letting the clock roll, slowing everything down. That's what I don't like when I watch basketball. But anyway, What do you think about this team? I mean, let's before I go into that, let me go back a little bit. This schedule is insane. The schedule is absolutely insane. I mean, this is probably one of the best basketball schedules, especially early in the season, that I remember for UCF. Last year's was pretty good too, but this year has a lot of top 25 and even top 10 teams in it. Michigan, hopefully by the time we play Michigan at home, they're still ranked up in the top 10. They're number 6 in preseason. Yeah. Auburn, we play at Auburn, number 22. We play Florida State, and that's a neutral game, but they're number 20. So we've got 3 top 25 teams in our non-conference schedule, and then we roll into our own conference, and we've got 2 other top 25 teams at this point, Memphis and Houston later on. Play both of them twice, so.
Exactly. I mean, talk about opportunity, right? Show that you're a good team. I
obviously,
mean, it's just unbelievable.
Johnny loves to have a tough schedule, and I think it's the best thing to do, especially early on. Your team learns a ton. I mean, you learn who you are quick.
Yeah, I think not only that too, that it shows the amount of confidence that Johnny Dawkins has in this team, and some of these games are made well in advance, but basketball is nothing like football when it comes to scheduling, right? A lot of these games are kind of placed over the summer leading into the season, and they're kind of lined up in that way, right? So the coach and the coaches have a lot more influence, I think, in basketball to lining up some of those games. Whereas on the football side, obviously being so big and only a small amount of games, that's the AD has a lot of influence as well as the head coach, but
much more
certainly
the AD,
yeah, much more the AD on that front. So when it comes to basketball, there's a lot of games are scheduled by those conferences that that the coaches have, and I think that this schedule in particular that Dawkins has in the non-conference. I mean, you even got a game like Oklahoma.
I didn't even mention Oklahoma and Miami. I mean, the second game of the year is Miami. That's a big one too. And
it
Oklahoma.
is, and we have to go down to Miami to play them at their place for that game. So that's certainly going to be a test. Second game of the season, and it'll actually be, this coming Saturday. So I mean, we're gonna find out a lot about this team right away.
We were supposed to play Oklahoma last year. I believe it got canceled, correct?
It did, yeah. That was one of the games that got wiped because of it was either about with them or about with us or for COVID. But Oklahoma was a tournament team last year. That's another team that made the NCAA tournament. And you mentioned, I believe Michigan was an Elite Eight team. They were a number 1 seed going into the NCAA tournament last year. Obviously, Houston made the Final Four last year. Right. I mean, they're a top team in the country, and then Memphis with not only the players that they return, but the really top recruiting class that they have coming in, always have coming in. That team is kind of firing on all cylinders. They won the NIT tournament last year, right? And they were a bubble team for the NCAA tournament, and they wound up getting the NIT bid, and they won the whole thing. So they've got a lot of momentum coming in. It's not only going to be tough in conference, but setting up before we get to that conference slate. These non-conference games are going to be very tough matchups, ones that we're going to learn a lot about our guys, a lot about our team, and hopefully they're going to be in, whether they win all of them or win half of them or whatever, against these top teams. I think that they're going to really set themselves up well for the tough American Conference slate that we have in front of us, because really there's about 5 or 6 teams that are just really elite when it comes to college basketball in our conference. And so these early season tests are really going to put them in a good position, as long as we can stay healthy, to really make some noise towards the end of the season and hopefully compete for a conference championship. But regardless, put enough on our resume to get that elusive second at-large bid, because I do think that this team has enough talent and enough returning to be an NCAA tournament team this year and compete for a conference championship. It's just a matter of, can we string it together? Can we have long stretches of playing well together? And can we stay healthy, which is always a question mark with some of the luck that this program that has had, some of the bad luck that this program has had over the last couple of years.
All right, first of all, I want to go and hear Johnny Dawkins talk about that non-conference schedule.
We're looking forward to it. We challenge tougher every year, as you know. I mean, last year, in this room, and I'm sure a lot of you noticed, last year we had the number one preseason strength of schedule. So we had the number one strength of schedule last year in the preseason as far as who we decide to play. And this year is going to be no different. I'm excited to play all the teams we have on the schedule. We have a great slate. I mean, we open up, we go down to Miami in our second game. Great opportunity to play a terrific team on the road. We go to Auburn. We return that game from here, so that should be an exciting environment, another great opportunity, great game. We have Oklahoma coming here. I mean, what a great opportunity to have them coming here. Great for us. We have, of course, Michigan coming here as well, so another amazing opportunity. And then we play Florida State on a neutral. So, I mean, again, this is how we want to schedule. I think my players and I think our community, they want to see us in games like that. They want to see us playing these type of opponents. And so we try our best to schedule them. And I'm just happy it really worked out well for us these last several years. And we will always continue to try to do that.
All right. Well, in the next couple of years, I know that he was talking about this year, but I want to move on a little bit and talk about, what's upcoming in the next couple of years with UCF joining the Big 12. And basketball is huge in the Big 12. I know that the American Conference is a big basketball conference as well. I think that it's a step up, though, personally, to the Big 12.
Yeah, and it's not only personally. I mean, that's actually the entire national sentiment that the Big 12 conference, when it comes to basketball, has been ranked the number one conference in all of college basketball. Something like 4 of the last 5 seasons in college basketball. So, I mean, it's certainly a consensus nationally that with teams
we
like
talk
Kansas,
about the blue bloods of football and the teams, the SEC or whatever in football would be considered that number one. But Big 12 is the SEC of basketball. I mean, when it compares to football is what I'm saying. With teams like Kansas, obviously, I'm going to say that one. But Baylor, Iowa State,
national champions,
exactly.
Right? I mean, they won the national championship.
Exactly. So we're going to be playing teams like that on our conference schedule in a couple of years. What needs to happen between now and then to get UCF basketball to the Big 12 level? How long do you think that takes and all that?
I think this year is going to be a huge step in that direction. I mean, not only do we have the highest rated recruiting class coming in this season in UCF history, but next season's recruiting class is going to top that when we have a top 50 player in Tyler Hendricks coming in, along with his brother Taylor. And I might have messed up which one of them is a top 50 player, but one of them is a top 50 player coming in. So next year's recruiting class is going to be even better than this one. But then on top of that, the building of the program that I think Coach Dawkins has done a good job of doing, as long as we can capture that elusive health thing that we've struggled with over the last few years. I think that he is setting up this program and building this program to be at the Big 12 level as we're going into it, and hopefully even before we're going into it. Some of the tests that we're getting this season in our conference with teams like Houston, who was a Final Four team last year, and Memphis, of course, but then obviously the non-conference that we just talked about, I think that's all building upon the confidence of what we need as a program to build towards that Big 12 level. And so I'm not going to lie and say it's, we're going to walk into the Big 12 and all of a sudden just start dominating. But do I think that we can compete with the teams that are in the Big 12 and go through that season and hold our own? I think that looking forward to when we're going to join them, I think certainly I have confidence in Dawkins being able to build towards that.
You think Dawkins can build an elite team? I mean, we'll have the opportunity to have, to get some of the best players in basketball being in a conference like that. It changes everything with recruiting. I mean,
it does.
Kids want to go and play in the Big 12 in basketball. And when you can even pitch that, that's a big deal. It's just like football. It's the same kind of thing. I mean, when you can pitch that you're going to be playing these teams, the big name teams, week in and week out, it makes a huge difference.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a difference of playing in prime time on the main ESPN network, where millions of eyeballs are on the screen when you're playing against Kansas, you're playing against the defending
those
champs
Monday
in Baylor.
nights.
Yeah, those big games, those big games, those showcase games. I mean, so you can talk to those players about that happening and really showing out on that stage. I mean, think about the 2018 team, right? They had that college, the basketball version of College Game Day there at Houston when we took them down later that night, and in prime time with all the ratings that we got there on that game, those are the type of exciting games that you can get multiple times, kind of night in, night out when you're in a conference like the Big 12. And so I certainly think that helps huge in recruiting, not only and also the revenue that you get well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we always talk about how are we going to spend the extra revenue that we get when it comes to football, but certainly the basketball facilities and charter flights for the basketball team, things like that. Those are huge in recruiting, and with that extra revenue that we can get from being in a top conference, all of that kind of builds up to hopefully being able to compete at a very high level. And then the last thing I'll say really quickly about Dawkins is he is a guy that, Naismith Player of the Year when he was at Duke. I mean, played, won national champion, or played in Final Fours, national championship games at Duke. Played 13 years in the NBA. I mean, and then has coached at a very high level. Started out his coaching career under one of the best to ever do it in Coach K. And so, I mean, these are the experience that he has not only as a player but as a coach as well. Certainly his head coaching experience as well. I think that he has the chops, has the ability, and has the experience to kind of take us to that next level. And you could kind of see it every year. He's just building upon the program. Some people would say it's a little bit slower than what we want it to be, but he really does seem to be methodically building towards that elite level, and I think he's the right guy for the job.
Yeah, he's definitely been on the big stage before, and he's going to be on it again. So
no doubt,
it's going to be exciting. I want to hear from him one more time, and then we will discuss if this is the question for him was, is this a NCAA championship type team? And we'll discuss that after we hear from him.
I think we have the potential to be an NCAA team. We have to go out there every night and prove that and earn it. But I do. Like I said, I think our teams, I'm a big believer in all of our teams and their ability to make the NCAA tournament. And it's no different with this team. That's our standard. What is our standard? Championship level standards means you're a tournament team, every year. And that's what we're going to push for.
All righty. Well, that's what we want to hear. And that's what we were just talking about, really. That's where we need to go, especially going into the Big 12. So I think it's extremely important that that's his mindset.
Yeah, I said it, I think, over the summer leading into this, I think we were just shortly talking about basketball a little bit over the summer on the radio show. And one of the things I said is that, and it was part of my hot take. I said that this is the most talented basketball team that Coach Dawkins has ever coached. And I know that's a bold statement considering who was on that 2018 team, and BJ Taylor, Taco Fall, all these guys that were extremely talented. But I think when you look at the depth that is on this roster, the ability that these guys have, from every position, and the ability they have to play multiple positions, the defensive mindset that they have to try to get every loose ball. If we can select the right shots, kind of get our offense together and play well on that side of the ball, I think that we're going to be able to compete with any team in the country. And certainly we're going to get the opportunity to, right? With the teams that are in our conference, but all those teams that we mentioned that we're going to play outside of conference. So all of these opportunities that we have, hopefully we can take down a number of them and build that resume going into March. Do I think that we have the chance to compete for an American Conference championship? Yes. Are my expectations that this team wins the American Conference? I wouldn't go that far. I mean, there's Houston and Memphis are kind of that clear top tier in this conference this year. And then I would say that we're right there behind that grouping with other very talented teams in Wichita State and SMU in particular. But you can make it into the tournament without winning the championship, the conference. That right? That is absolutely the point right there, is that we don't have to win the conference in order to make it into the there's a very good chance that this could be as much as a 5-bid league. But certainly we have enough depth in this conference for it to be a 4-bid league. And so as long as we take down some of those big opportunities that we'll have throughout the year, and we really show out well and get some big wins and kind of don't have too many stupid losses, I think that's where we can build that resume going into March, where certainly we could be an at-large bid regardless of what happens in the conference tournament. Awesome. All righty. Well, this has been fun, man. I appreciate it. I know we talked for a long time here on this. We haven't talked about basketball in so long. We hardly ever talk about it on the radio show. We're going to, though, coming up here. But we've been talking about football for so long. I'm absolutely shocked that it's almost basketball time. Literally, like in 2 days, it is basketball time. It sneaks up on us every year. It does. It does. The football season has gone extremely fast this year for me, and now it's time for basketball. I'm excited for basketball this year. I watched it probably the most I've ever watched basketball last year. And, obviously I'm going to do that again this year. And I think that this team will be exciting and hopefully, they'll make us all want to watch them, play exciting games and win a lot of those, hopefully. So I think this year could be a great year. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get a lot of fan support too. I mean, because this team deserves it. Hopefully that the arena at UCF will be packed for not only some of these big games, but some of the lesser known games as well. And hopefully the fan base at UCF, feels the excitement that we're talking about, because you're right. I mean, obviously I've talked a lot over this week, over the last, however long we've been talking, because I'm just super excited as well. I mean, I think it's going to be a team with a lot of potential to make some noise here in college basketball. And, I'm excited to see it unfold. All right, Ben, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it. All right, thanks for having me on. If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey,
Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Time now to check the rest of the scoreboard around the American. Number 2, Cincinnati had 2 goal line stands at the end of the game to hold off Tulsa 28-20 to remain undefeated at 9-0 in their quest for the college football playoff. Number 19, Houston remains unbeaten in conference play at 6-0 as they rallied to beat South Florida 54-42. Brian Battie had 2 100-yard kickoff returns for touchdowns for the Bulls. Memphis held off a late rally and upsetting number 23 SMU 28-25. Seth Hennigan returned from injury to pass for 392 and 2 touchdowns. East Carolina robbed over Temple 45-3 as the Pirates get to 5-4 in the season. And in our Spotlight Game of the Week, Navy was defeated by number 8 Notre Dame 34-6. I'm Jeff Allen. We'll recap those games, get you set for this week's action, as well as analyze Cincinnati's place in this week's college football playoff poll on the AAC Report only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. All right, Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Obviously, this by now you know that this is our score prediction segment of the show. And Tijuana Flats, if you missed the wings, they are gone. I've been talking about those Tijuana Flats hot wings for a couple weeks here. They're gone now. It was a limited time thing. Maybe they will bring them back. Maybe they won't. But I'm excited to see what is next from Tijuana Flats and their next new thing. So I'll be there this week to get that again. And we've got exciting things coming up from Tijuana Flats, by the way. An exciting end of the football season kind of a thing coming up. So I can't wait. Roger, I'm going to let you go ahead here with your score prediction with SMU.
Okay, so last week I was a little off. 14-10 versus 48-21. So, folks, I don't know what to say to that other than I'm glad we won, and a win is better than a loss. However, this week, if UCF is to win, I feel like it's going to be on the backs of our defense and the ability to hold SMU to under 30 points. And our ability to score over 30 points. So I'm going to say my prediction for this week, SMU game is 32-28 UCF. I think that Gus kind of was holding back a little bit last week. I think he's also going to stretch the field a little bit, and I think our defense has a good handle on SMU. So for me, I'm going to go 32-28 in a nail biter. UCF.
Alrighty. Well, I was wrong last week, obviously, as well. It happens. We obviously both picked UCF, so that's good. I thought we were going to roll out the offense a little bit more. I thought our offense was going to be rocking. Bowser was back. I thought that Mikey Keene, got opened up a little bit the week before, whatever. It's a hot take. That's why it's a hot take. If I said 52-7, well, they only scored 3 points more than 7. We just didn't score the 52.
I don't think anybody would have ever said 14-10 UCF win.
No, I don't think so. Anybody ever would either. Yeah, it's all good. It's a hot take. This is why we do this. Anyway, okay. I'm going to go a little bit more conservative this week with the way that UCF is going to beat SMU. But I still think UCF is going to beat SMU. I'm going to say 24-17. Somehow we are going to hold them. Our defense is really, really playing good right now. We're going to hold them to 17 points somehow. 24-17. That is my thing. There's going to be turnovers. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. You never know what the weather's going to be like. Something crazy could happen as far as them only scoring 17. But I think for some reason, somehow, some way, maybe somebody's out. Who knows what happens? 24-17. All righty. That is it for our hot takes. Next is news and notes. And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, congratulations to Ryan O'Keefe for eclipsing 1,000 yards for his career. That's 1,000 yards receiving for his career.
Correct. UCF volleyball is currently 20-6 and are 13-1 in conference. That's domination. After coming from behind to defeat Cincinnati 3-2 and sweep ECU 3-0. Congratulations, ladies. They are currently ranked 21st in the country.
All right, UCF men's soccer is 8-7 and 6-4 in conference play after losing to Tulsa 1-2. The team will play in the conference championship tournament on the 10th. They are currently ranked 60th. I thought that they were going to be a lot better than that this year. I'm kind of surprised in what happened to them over the year.
Well, they were doing well, and they beat like SMU that was ranked like top 10 or something, like 5-0, and like the last 3 or 4 games, they just completely tanked, and their ranking dropped. I think they were on the verge of popping into the top 25 and just went 60th. So I don't know what happened, but the wheels completely fell off.
All right. Well, they've got the conference tournament, and you never know what can happen there. They usually do fairly well in that. I think they were conference champions last year. All righty. That's going to do it for Knightline 269. I'm Andrew Phegley.
And I'm Roger Phipps. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field with